Hey guys, um, viewer questions. Let's just get right into this, shall we? Because there's quite a lot of questions, a lot more than I expected, and I'm not actually going to be able to get to them all tonight. But I'm having a good time with this, so feel free to keep sending questions. First question comes from Michael. He says, I actually have a couple of questions, and then there's some other stuff, praising me and telling me how awesome I am, and then he gets to the questions. Question number one, when you did the color fill, is there a reason you don't do some masking rather than having to wipe off the excess paint? Just too time consuming or question mark? Um, no particular reason. I don't usually use it. It's not, we're talking about an AR, or something else, and it's easy enough to just wipe off the excess. It makes it so it helps with two things. One, so you're not if you mask it off, you're worried about going outside the lines and you're not paying attention to the work, and you might not get as good of a fill in the roll marks. And two, honestly, it's time consuming to cut the tape and trim the tape and put the tape on, and then paint and then tape off, pull the tape off. And three, honestly, it's really hard to tape off for roll marks on a gun. We're talking about really small marks. So in the end, it's just easier to just paint it, wipe off the excess, go on about your day. Question number two. What would be the best way to do custom engraving, gunsmith or jeweler? Dremel tool with a dull bit. No, seriously. Whoever in your area does the nicest work and has the best equipment to do it. Sometimes that is a jeweler. But, technically, if you're having engraving done on something, it has to be done by an FFL holder if you're having engraving done on the serialized part of the gun. So if you're having an AR lower engraved, it has to be done by an FFL holder because they technically have to log it into and out of their gun book. So kind of keep that in mind. Next email. This comes from Doug. And he says, Rich, I recently purchased a Smith & Wesson 22A. I also recently became a gun owner after attending a gun classes. I like the gun in that it has minimal recoil and seems rather accurate. However, once every 20 to 30 rounds, it'll have a misfire. If I load the bullet again in the magazine, it will fire. I've read that 22s are known for this level of reliability, but I'm wondering if there is some other problem, such as a defect in the gun, wrong ammo for the gun, says that I guess you're using Remington Thunderbolt and CCI mini mags, or some other problems. I clean and oil the gun after every time I shoot. Also, I've dry fired it using a snap cap substitute, which is a number 4 drywall anchor, based on a recommendation in the Smith & Wesson forums. What are your thoughts about what could be the problem? If you reference the question in the video, call me Doug from Kentucky. Hey, Doug from Kentucky. Long and the short of it is, 22 is 22, okay? And there's actually a really cool video on YouTube that was filmed at CCI's factory. The primers on 22s, 22 long rifles, are essentially painted on. What they do is they have these women that sit at this little desk with a bunch of empty cases and a tub of primer material, and they take a little Q-tip or little toothpick looking thing, and they put it down in there, and they basically paint the primer material into the inside of the case. What this does is this does not allow for a lot of consistency. Okay, so what you're running into, it sounds like, is that you are running into ammo where occasionally the firing pin will strike the rim in a spot where there is little or no primer material, so you can't start that chain reaction. When you rechamber the round from the magazine, what's probably happening is the firing pin is hitting the rim on a different part of the different area of the rim, and it's going to go ahead and set the gun off. No big deal. As far as the firing pin goes, obviously, if you've been dry firing it and you've been using wall anchors or some other snap cap kind of thing, then you shouldn't have an issue with whether or not the firing pin is damaged. But it wouldn't hurt to check that as well. Okay, you can check and see if maybe possibly part of the firing pin has a little nick taken out in the corner of it, and that will oftentimes be enough to cause it to not to have light strikes to not strike the primer with enough force to set off the bullet. I've had this problem happen in actually one of my Browning buck marks. So, thanks for the question, Doug from Kentucky. Yeah, Doug from Kentucky. Next question is from Nate. Hey, Rich. I have a 10mm EAA Witness that I shoot some pretty hot hand loads through. Nothing hotter than what is published in my reloading book, but substantially hotter than what comes off the shelf. I use a pretty stiff recoil spring with the intent of keeping the slide from hammering the crap out of my prized pistol. Now, when I have to draw the slide, it's difficult to do with that 22-pound spring. I read somewhere that using a compensator will substantially reduce the force exerted on the slide and allow me to use lighter springs without hammering the frame. Is this true? Why? Will it make a big enough difference to bother? Anything else I can do to make an autoloader stand up to hot hand loads for the long run? Please don't mention my full name or email. You may use my first name if you like. Thanks, Nate. All right, Nate, so you've got a bunch of questions kind of rolled into one here. The first question about, is this true? Yes, it is. Second question, why? It's just because of the way compensators work. The way compensators work, and you can see this best on something like a Barrett 50 cal, okay? The way compensators work is they take some of those gases, those hot gases that are just exploding out of your gun, and they redirect them up or to the sides, okay? And what that does is that takes some of that force away, that inertia that those gases are going to exert on the slide in the barrel to cycle the gun. So a compensator will actually definitely work. By using a compensator, you can go back to using a stock recoil spring, and it will absolutely make a big enough difference to bother. As far as what else can you do to make your autoloader stand up to hot hand loads for the long run? Don't shoot hot hand loads in the long run, honestly. But if you're going to do it, run a compensator, and if you can get some kind of recoil buffers, like shock buffs for your EAA. I don't know for sure if anybody makes any recoil buffers for the EAA guns. The Witness is a nice gun, by the way. I applaud you. I've been thinking about getting one myself. If you can get recoil buffers for it, then I would go ahead and use those. Now, be advised that recoil buffers are not safe to use in a gun that you're going to carry for self-defense, and they don't last very long. Okay, so you're gonna, it's a replaceable thing, so you're going to have to make sure that you replace it when it gets chewed up, as well as make sure that after you shoot, after a range session with the recoil buffer, you take the gun down and you make sure that any little pieces of the buffer that have been chewed up and kind of spread throughout the gun and maybe possibly embedded in the recoil spring or the guide rod, stuff like that. Make sure you get rid of those because it will affect the operation of the gun. Thanks for the email. This one comes from Justin. The first paragraph is just a paragraph of telling me how awesome I am. And we're going to get to his question. I recently purchased the Sky CPX2. I've only put 40 rounds of Remington UMC 115 grain through it. That day I shot a few different pistols and was fairly accurate with them at 21 feet. It seemed that with the Sky, the grouping was not as consistent as the others. What ammunition would you recommend to try on a limited budget? Honestly, if you were, at 21 feet, if you were getting a fist size or even a dinner plate size group at 21 feet, you're doing real good, and you're well within the limits of that gun. The gun's going to shoot better than you will 99.5 times out of 100. So try a bunch of different ammo and see what that gun likes best. Guns are temperamental, fickle creatures, much like women, and some of them have different appetite. Okay, so one Sky to another Sky, it's not going to make a difference what I recommend. Go to Walmart or go to Dick's or Academy or your local gun store. Buy a box of several different kinds of ammunition, 115 grain, 124 grain, whatever, and run it through it and see what the gun likes best. Whatever the gun likes best, that's what you should run in it. Thanks for the letter. Okay. Okay. This is 2 questions, and they're kind of long questions, so bear with me. This comes from Rob in Columbus, Ohio. Hey, Rob. First paragraph is a paragraph telling me how awesome I am. And second paragraph is a question. I have a Remington 870 Wingmaster, and hunting season is pretty much here. Gonna get some rabbit or squirrel this year, but I thought I should plug the magazine. I know a plug is cheap, but I've had the handle from an old set of window blinds on my bench for a while. The plastic hexagon handle for turning the blinds. Because I figure that it might make a great magazine plug for the shotgun. I thought making a magazine plug or in question form, how do I, might be a good question to ask this time of year. I remember way back when I took hunter safety ed, the old guy who was, I guess, a retired Navy commander said, use anything you can get to work, a stick from the ground, a pencil, whatever's handy, because that is better than getting in trouble for not having a plug. He's right. Whatever you can get, if you don't want to buy a plug and you want to DIY a plug, just whatever works and is safe, and will keep you from getting a citation or having your equipment confiscated by the game warden should you get checked up on. That's what you should do. Okay? Or better yet, just go on Cheaper Than Dirt or Brownells or your local gun store, Bass Pro, Cabela's, whatever's there, buy a plug. They're what, $5? No big deal. Save yourself the effort. Another question that concerns me even more than a mag plug is about bullet setback. I don't unload my everyday carry pistol, a Bursa Thunder 380, unless I'm cleaning or going to the range. Anyhow, I keep Federal HydroShock for everyday carry, and they have an extra crimp that I believe is to help prevent setback. But what could we do to prevent any issues, or is it as big of a concern as some make it out to be? I also have some concern for primer failure from the action of chambering the same round again and again. Okay, as far as the concern of primer failure from chambering the round again and again, unless your Bursa is, tapping the primer, putting a little dimple in it over and over and over again, that shouldn't be a concern. As far as what that crimp is for on HydroShocks, you're absolutely right. That's what that crimp is for on HydroShocks. Here's HydroShocks that I carry in my 1911, and about halfway down the case, I know you guys can't see this, but about halfway down the case, there's an extra little crimp, and what that is to do is to help avoid bullet setback. In guns like the Bursa Thunder or 1911 or anything with a really steep feed ramp, guns that normally won't chamber and run hollow point, the square-nosed hollow point ammo, as good as they would run ball ammo, bullet setback is a very real concern. If the bullet gets set back too far in the case, then you can have a case of overpressure and a kaboom. And we don't want a kaboom. We don't want your gun to turn into a hand grenade in your hands, okay? So, if you're rocking Federal HydroShocks, then keep rocking the HydroShocks. I like them. That's what I run. I've tried other ammo, and HydroShocks honestly are the only carry ammo that I've tried in the last few years that does not have some form of bullet setback. Now remember, I almost exclusively carry a 1911, so it's a very real concern for me. So take that for what it's worth. He says, thanks for making the videos. Use the question or tell me to piss off. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you to piss off. I use the question. I'll remain a fan and keep watching. Awesome, thanks. By the way, are you going to do a show for Discovery or whoever you mentioned in one of your videos? Man, I don't know. I had some talks going on with this production house, and I don't know what's going on. I guess it's on the back burner. We'll see what happens. Either way, I've got you guys. I don't need Discovery Channel. Thanks for the letter. Tim, he didn't tell me where he's from. I'm a huge fan of Sky Industries A+ customer service and love my CPX2 Gen 2 stainless, but would like to modify the 9-pound trigger to something less. Is there anything on the market for a simple DIY that will do this? No. The best trigger job is 10,000 rounds, but to the best of my knowledge, there is nothing on the market currently for a DIY trigger job, and Sky builds the guns in such a way that it's extraordinarily difficult to remove the trigger group from the gun anyway. So just shoot the gun a whole lot and wear it in, and you'll have a 10,000 round trigger job. Ben writes, actually I'm going to save that letter for last because it's a cool letter. Let's see. Josiah, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I know you've talked a lot about them. That's how I found the channel, but I was curious if you had a good idea on how many high point C9 ship with those nuisance value failed feeds. Or in simpler terms, what's the likelihood of getting a bad sample? Also, do you know any decent concealed holsters for them, since they're not a big name model that gets hooked up with special stuff? Feel free to throw my name out there if you want, or not if you don't. Well, I already did. So It's already out there. In my experience, approximately 1 out of every 400 to 500 high point C9s comes out with those nuisance fail to feeds. Okay, I've sold a whole lot of those guns since I've opened my store, and geez, I've probably sold, just out of my store since I've been in business, I've probably sold, I'd have to check the paperwork, but somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 of them, and I've only ever had 3, I think, come back to me with fail to feed issues that somebody was complaining about, and I sent them on to High Point, and High Point took care of the problem because I never heard from them again. Do you know any decent concealed carry holsters for them? As a matter of fact, I do. Galco Gun Leather makes a holster specifically for the High Point C9. I believe they also make one for the 40 and 45. Now remember, the C9 and the 380 are the same size gun. It's the same gun essentially. So they make a nice little paddle holster that's kind of a suede leather, and it's black, and it actually says, it has the High Point logo embossed on it, kind of in a bas relief kind of thing. They're 35 or 40 bucks. To the best of my knowledge, that is the only holster manufacturer that makes a holster specifically for High Point guns. So you can go on their site. I'm sure, I know, as a matter of fact, I know you can go on their site and order one. Thanks for the letter. Rich, feel free to call me Mike in Detroit. Okay, Mike in Detroit. I recently inherited my dad's nickel-plated 38 Colt Cobra that he bought in the 70s. It's freaking beautiful. My question is, what product is best and safest for polishing nickel plate? If it doesn't need polishing, don't do it. Okay, seriously. If it's really scratched up, take it someplace professional to have it done, because you don't want to screw it up. Other than that, I like Flitz. Flitz polishing compound is good stuff, and it works on a whole bunch of different things. You could try Brasso if you want to do it by hand, but that's something that you really want to consider a whole lot before you actually go and do it. Okay? Thanks for the letter. Hey, my name is Zack. I do not want my info aired. Well, I'm not going to tell him your last name, Zack, but I am going to tell him that your name is Zack. My question is, as a very small-framed person, 120 pounds, what is a good concealed carry pistol that is still powerful enough to protect my wife and my 4 children? I regularly shoot and occasionally carry a Smith & Wesson 4506-1, but it is a very large pistol for me to carry. What is your favorite brand of holster and why? Mostly between Kydex, Serpa, Blackhawk, hard body positive lock carry holsters, and paddle or belt loops. If you have any questions for me to better help me or help others, feel free to ask. Okay, I'm going to give you the same answer I give everybody. The largest size, largest caliber gun that you can comfortably carry and comfortably shoot, that you will practice with a lot, that's what you should be carrying. Everybody's different. Being you're a small dude, I'm gonna have to pimp like a Sky CPX2 to you, and I know I say that a lot, but it's a good gun, and budget wise, you really can't beat it for the money, and it's definitely about the right size for a person of your frame, and it shouldn't be any big deal for you to conceal it. Next on the list would be, like a subcompact Glock or a subcompact Springfield XD. You get where I'm going with this, okay? Just whatever's most comfortable in your hand that you'll shoot a lot, in the largest caliber that you can comfortably shoot. So shoot for something in the 9mm range. That way you have a decent ammo capacity, and you can still get it in a small enough framed gun that's light enough to comfortably carry on a regular basis. What is your favorite brand of holster and why? I don't have a favorite brand of holster, okay? I don't. I have boxes of holsters. I buy holsters like some people buy cups of coffee every day, okay? I'm always buying a new holster to try out. So I've got leather holsters. I've got Kydex holsters. I've got Kydex, leather lined Kydex holsters. I've got paddle holsters. I've got inside the waistband. I've got, I've got pretty much everything out there. Okay, I'm always buying holsters. I'm always looking for the next best thing. And what I generally use, though, is this. What I carry every day is this. This is a Raven Concealment Kydex holster, okay? And as you can see, it has belt loops. I am personally not a fan of paddle holsters, okay? I just don't like them. I think if you're going to carry a gun every day, you need to be wearing a belt to go along with it. But some people, for whatever reason, especially a lot of ladies, they don't wear belts with their outfits, so a paddle holster is a necessary evil. In my opinion, a paddle holster just isn't as secure as a holster that's held on through your belt. It's cinched to your body with your belt. So, given the choice between the two, I will pick a belt-mounted holster any day of the week. As you can see, this doesn't have any kind of retention other than the pressure of the holster itself. I am not a big fan of retention holsters. I think they add an extra mechanic that you don't really need. Some people, however, they feel better with a retention holster. So if you're going to get something with retention, go with something with a thumb brake or something that's real easy, that you don't have to have a lot of presence of mind. Your body will just automatically be able to, take that safety out of commission so you can draw your gun if the worst happens, okay? The only thing I haven't tried is some of the exotic leather holsters, like Wilson Combat has shark and elephant skin holsters. So if anybody wants to buy me one and have me test it out, feel free. That would be awesome. But I like Wilson Combat leather holsters. They're real comfortable. They're very durable. They allow a reasonably fast draw. They're price-wise, they're pretty much on average with any quality leather holster. The exotic leather ones, the shark skin and elephant and stuff like that, we're talking hundreds of dollars. But generally, I prefer Kydex over anything else. Sometimes, like on special occasions, or if I'm getting sort of dressed up, I will carry a leather holster just because it's more appropriate for the type of clothes I'm going to be wearing. Other than that, it's just like anything else, man. It's like Ford, Chevy, Dodge. It's personal preference, and it's kind of a personal decision. Zack, thank you for the letter. Last one for tonight, guys. Ben writes, Rich, it's massively off topic for your channel, but I saw a black dog wander past in the background of the open or concealed video. So the question, will you introduce us to what I assume is your dog? And he says, yes, silly, I know. What can I say? I like dogs. The black dog that you guys see in my videos is Anya. She is she's my door greeter. She's 90 pounds of muscle and teeth. She's a German Shepherd of West German bloodlines, and she is the greatest dog on the face of the earth. Anya, come here, baby. Come here, baby. You want to come say hi? Come here. Come on. Come on. Give me a hug. No? Really? You don't want to? Okay. You want to say hi to the people on YouTube? You want to say hi? No? Okay. She's camera shy. So, guys, seriously, I didn't expect to get this many emails. This is awesome. Seriously. I would like to do this again. I'd like to make this kind of an episodic thing. So, if you have questions, send them to rich@GunTortureTests.com. Tell me if you want me to, if you want me to answer the question in the video, or if you want me to respond via email. Obviously, if you say in the video, it might be a few weeks before I get to it. So kind of take that in consideration. Also, like I mentioned last time, my Spreadshirt store is open. There's a link down in the description of the video. And if you guys want to buy some cool t-shirts, they're there. And the next couple videos are going to be product reviews. And I'm not going to tell you what the products are right now, but I am going to tell you that I am super excited to do them. They are both really, really, really good products that are going to have, in my opinion, a pretty significant impact on the way people maintain their firearms. So, with that little teaser, Rich from GunTortureTests.com. See you next week.